All right, let's dive in. You guys have sent in a story that is super intriguing. Two longtime friends, one a single mom, the other recently divorced,
Yeah.
decided after 5 years of friendship to kind of go in a different direction, a completely different direction.
Hmm.
They started a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
It's definitely raising eyebrows, and it's brought up a lot of interesting questions for us to kind of unpack here.
It really makes you think about how we categorize relationships.
Yeah,
We like to put things in boxes, like this is friendship and this is romance.
right.
But this kind of situation shows just how blurry those lines can get, especially, when you have that history of a deep connection.
Yeah. It makes you think about that age-old question. Can men and women really be just friends?
Right?
I mean, in this case, it seems like there's shared experiences.
Mhm.
The single mom, juggling everything,
Mhm.
and Dorsey kind of navigating that fresh start led them to spend more and more time together. And, well, one thing led to another, as they say.
And December seems to be the month where things kind of shifted for them. Kids were at a movie. They had what seemed like an innocent Netflix and chill night that turned into something a little bit more.
Wow.
And it's interesting because they've consciously chosen to keep things casual, like no labels.
Right.
But they're both reporting feeling fulfilled emotionally and sexually. So that raises so many questions. And I think the biggest one for me is why now?
Right.
After 5 years of friendship, what shifted?
Was there always an underlying attraction there that they were just kind of ignoring, or
Yeah.
did their shared struggles create a unique bond that just kind of tipped the scales?
I think loneliness might be playing a role here, especially given where they both are in their lives.
Yeah.
The single mom, she may be craving that adult intimacy beyond the demands of parenthood.
Sure.
And the divorcee is likely dealing with a sense of loss and a need to kind of rebuild connections.
But wouldn't that make it more about filling a void than genuine compatibility? I mean, are they really drawn to each other, or are they just clinging to familiarity and comfort in a time of need?
That's where it gets really complicated. Loneliness can lead us to seek connection in maybe unexpected places, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it negates the authenticity of the connection.
Okay.
They've clearly found something that works for them, at least for now.
Yeah.
There's a level of comfort and understanding that likely comes from years of shared experiences and built up trust.
Okay, so maybe it's not just about filling a void, but here's where it gets even more interesting, and let's be honest, a little bit juicy.
Okay.
They both expressed a desire to explore bringing a man into the bedroom, a threesome,
Wow.
to be blunt.
That certainly adds another layer to this whole dynamic.
Yeah.
Now we have to consider, is this desire coming from a need that isn't being met in their current relationship?
Hmm.
Are they seeking something more, or is it just pure curiosity?
Maybe they're feeling adventurous.
Yeah.
They're wanting to push boundaries within a relationship that already feels safe.
Or could there be some insecurity, lurking beneath the surface?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a way of avoiding a deeper emotional commitment by keeping things casual and focused on the physical?
That's a great point.
Mhm.
It could be a way of deflecting, saying, hey, we're just having fun experimenting,
Right.
when deep down there might be, these more complex emotions bubbling under the surface.
Exactly. And it's important to acknowledge that this desire for a threesome could be coming from different places for each of them.
Oh, interesting.
One might be genuinely curious about exploring a new dynamic, while the other might be using it as a way to avoid emotional vulnerability.
So we've got this fascinating mix, a long-standing friendship that's morphed into a sexual relationship,
Mm-hmm.
a desire for a threesome, and the ever-present weight of societal judgment. I mean, it's 2025,
Right.
but let's be real.
Mhm.
A same-sex female relationship, especially one that started as a close friendship, is still going to raise eyebrows.
Absolutely. Societal norms and expectations, especially around female sexuality,
Hmm.
can be incredibly powerful and often limiting. They're likely grappling with this fear of being judged, misunderstood,
Yeah.
or even ostracized by their families or communities.
And how do they navigate that? Where do they even begin to unpack all of this?
Well, the first step is recognizing that they're not alone.
Right.
Many people are exploring alternative relationship models and challenging traditional norms, and finding a community of like-minded individuals can provide a sense of validation and support.
Yeah.
It's about finding those spaces where they can really just be their authentic selves without fear of judgment.
Right. I imagine therapy could be beneficial too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Having that neutral third party to help them process their emotions and explore their motivations, in a safe and confidential setting.
Therapy provides a really great space for them to unpack those deeper layers we were talking about, those individual desires and fears and insecurities that might be fueling their choices.
Yeah.
It's about gaining that self-awareness and understanding the underlying dynamics at play.
So if they're listening, what's the first practical step that they can take?
Huh.
Where do they even begin to untangle this web of emotions and desires?
Honesty is key. They need to have an open and honest conversation with each other about what they truly want from this relationship.
Okay.
What are their expectations? Are they envisioning a future together, or is this just like a temporary exploration?
And that conversation needs to go beyond just defining the relationship. They need to address the elephant in the room,
Yeah.
the threesome.
Right.
Are they both genuinely on board with this idea, or is one person more hesitant than the other?
Exactly. And if they do decide to move forward with it, setting clear boundaries is so important.
Like what?
What are their hard limits? What are their expectations for how this will impact their dynamic?
It's like a prenup for a non-traditional relationship.
Yeah.
They need to discuss everything, emotional boundaries, sexual preferences, and how they'll handle any potential jealousy or insecurity that might arise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about protecting themselves and their connection, and it's not just about the act itself. They need to consider what happens afterward. How will this experience change their relationship dynamic? Will it strengthen their bond or create distance between them?
And let's not forget about the practical considerations. If they do decide to bring someone else in, how will they find this person? What criteria will they use? How will they ensure everyone feels safe and respected?
Those are all huge questions, and it highlights the need for that open and ongoing communication.
Yeah.
This can't just be a one-time conversation. They need to check in with each other regularly, reassess their boundaries, make adjustments as needed.
So it sounds like a constant balancing act,
It is.
trying to honor their individual needs and desires while also protecting the integrity of their connection.
Yeah, and that's why it's crucial to prioritize emotional well-being throughout this entire process.
Okay.
Are they feeling happy, fulfilled, respected? If not, they need to be willing to step back, reevaluate, and make changes.
And what about that fear of judgment that we talked about earlier? How can they overcome that, especially if they choose to involve a third person?
Well, it starts with challenging those societal norms that tell them their relationship is wrong or unnatural.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that their happiness and fulfillment are not contingent on external validation.
Yeah, easier said than done, though, right?
Oh, for sure.
It's one thing to intellectually understand that, but it's another thing to truly internalize it and live it out loud.
Absolutely. It takes courage to defy societal expectations and embrace a relationship that might not fit the conventional mold, but it can also be incredibly empowering.
Right.
It's about reclaiming their narrative and defining love and intimacy on their own terms.
And finding strength in their connection, right?
Yeah.
If they're truly happy and fulfilled together, that's what should matter most.
Exactly. It's about focusing on the quality of their connection, the love and respect they share, rather than worrying about what others might think.
Okay, so we've talked about honest communication, setting boundaries, prioritizing emotional well-being, challenging societal norms. What other advice would you give them as they navigate this kind of uncharted territory?
I think it's crucial for them to remember that relationships are fluid. What feels right today might not feel right tomorrow, and that's okay. They need to be flexible, adaptable, and willing to evolve along with their connection.
And to be kind to themselves throughout this process,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there will be bumps along the way, moments of doubt and uncertainty.
Oh, yeah.
That's all part of the journey.
They need to practice self-compassion and remember that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to relationships.
Right.
What matters most is finding what works for them, what brings them joy and fulfillment.
So I'm hearing a lot about trusting their instincts,
Yeah.
listening to their inner voice, and making choices that feel aligned with their values.
That's exactly it. It's about trusting themselves, honoring their desires, and creating a relationship that feels authentic and meaningful, regardless of what society might dictate.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, exploring the complexities of their relationship, the potential challenges of bringing a third person into the mix, and the importance of prioritizing emotional well-being and challenging societal norms.
And it's important to remember that their story is a reflection of a larger cultural shift.
Yeah.
We're seeing more and more people questioning traditional relationship models and embracing these diverse forms of love and intimacy.
It's almost like we're rewriting the rule book on relationships,
Yeah.
recognizing that there's no one right way to do things.
And that's a beautiful thing. It allows for greater self-expression, greater authenticity, and ultimately greater happiness.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
what's the key takeaway you want our listener to hold on to?
I think it's really about trusting the journey.
Yeah.
Being open to exploration and honest communication and allowing the relationship to just evolve organically.
Like they're pioneers in a way, navigating this uncharted territory,
Yeah.
forging their own path.
And who knows, maybe their willingness to challenge these conventional norms will inspire others to do the same, to
Right.
question those societal expectations and create relationships that truly reflect their individual needs and desires.
So to our listener who's so bravely shared this really intimate part of their lives, thank you. You've given us all a lot to think about.
It's such a powerful reminder that love and intimacy can take many forms. And ultimately, the most fulfilling relationships are those that are built on honesty, respect, and a deep understanding of oneself and one's partner.
And to everyone listening, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this situation? Have you ever questioned traditional relationship models? What does love and intimacy mean to you? Keep the conversation going in the comments.
These are questions that I think we all grapple with. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep choosing what feels right for you.
Beautifully said. Until next time, keep diving deep.